conversation and we get to interact. David and I were talking just recently, and to me, those are the Friday nights that I enjoy the most, and that leave me with points of growth is when we have those depths of interaction. And we've had some really, really good ones over the 3 years, but I feel like this summer has been really great. So that's strategic. That's on purpose. Either Sandra or I could come in here and just teach you a message, and that would be fine, and we could go on our way. But that was never the idea from the get-go. It was to gather, and the whole concept of, iron sharpens iron, and the whole idea that, we can look at a scripture and you're going to have a thought, and you're going to have a thought, and you're going to have a thought, and together, there's just such rich goodness that comes out. And I don't, routine or getting in a rut's never a good idea, so we don't want to do it the same all the time. And we've got some ideas. We're going to be sharing some with you in the coming weeks, because we've got some ideas about how these times can be even richer in that way as far as the discussion. And there's even thoughts of things like, maybe we choose a study to where everybody can have access to it through the week if they want, or a podcast that, I don't know, there's lots of ideas of ways that maybe you might come in to a Friday night saying, oh man, I've been reading this or listening to it all week, and now we're going to talk about it, kind of thing. I don't know what we'll do with some of that, but I want this to be a rich, great, dynamic experience from, the point of our hearts getting engaged and the conversation being had. And you know that, because we've been doing a lot of it, but that is not just what we're doing here. It's the reason we started Open Fields. Not to have another typical church. Again, that's not me trying to be negative towards typical church. It's me saying we wanted to do something different. And it comes from our background in missions and so forth. And, we spent most of our time for nearly 30 years of doing missions work, developing leaders. That was a discipleship program, and even our teams as they traveled and the short-term mission trips and so forth. It was very discipleship focused. So I just kind of wanted to share that a little bit tonight. I also wanted to make some comments on giving, not because you guys are bad givers, because you're not. And there's a lot of you watching online too that you're very faithful in your giving. And I really, really appreciate that, because I think part of being a disciple is we let Jesus into everything. That's a tall order, right? To let him into everything. And there are certain areas that it's harder sometimes to let anyone else in, let alone the Holy Spirit, or, because sometimes I don't know about you guys, but God could challenge me in those areas that I want to hold control of my money or whatever. There could be any number of things that I want to control that. And the reality is we're better off if we relinquish to God, right? So I wanted to share a couple things with you along the lines of giving, because you are faithful, and yet I think I sometimes leave the perspective that because you're good givers and because you're faithful, that we never have any needs. And the reality is, do you remember a year ago, I started, it was in the fall, I don't know, it must have been September, October. I started a fundraising campaign, and I shared some on Friday nights, but I was sending out lots of emails, and a lot of you watching online, a lot of people that don't even watch any of this, but they read our newsletters and so forth. I just started sharing that, hey, we're running about 30,000 behind. And I don't remember the exact numbers, David, I don't know if you do, you probably don't either, but we ended up catching up on a lot of that before the end of the year. I think we still ended in a tiny bit of a hole, but not much, nothing like 30,000, right? So I don't want to leave people like, there's no way to connect, no way to participate, because there is. Some of you are probably already giving everything that's in your heart that you want to be giving, and that's great. I'm not trying to entice you or manipulate you into doing more, but I just think we, as disciples, and that's why we're gathering on Friday nights, is we are disciples, and we're interested in God infringing on everything. So this week we had a couple of things happen that I wanted to share with you, because I think they're real wins, but it also kind of gives an example of how things work in a ministry like this. First of all, there was a pretty good hailstorm that came through here about a month or so ago. I didn't think much of it, but it was suggested that we should have things looked at, and as it turns out, they did look at things, and it's not too bad, but there are a few repairs that need done, and they don't meet the deductible. We have a pretty high deductible for hail, as most people in Colorado do these days. So they didn't begin to meet the deductible. So I was like, okay, well, so we'll figure out what to do here. Well, the next thing, I get a phone call, and I don't need to go into all the details, but we don't own this building, but we might as well own it, because the guy that does own it, he built it for us and just said, it's yours as long as you need it, and just treat it like your own. You know, every time I call him, he's like, do whatever you need to do. You don't need to call me, you know. But his office manager or whatever called me this week and said, well, so there was that stuff that needs repaired because of that hailstorm, and insurance isn't going to do anything. And came to just under $5,000 if we did everything. She said, so the guy, and I didn't ask his permission, so I won't use his name. Some of you know who it is, but the guy that owns this building said, just tell him to go ahead and get it fixed. I'll pay for it. You know, and I mean, that kind of thing, I want to celebrate it because I appreciate that needs like that, you know, get met, because we should take good care of this, right? And then this week on Monday, and I didn't silence my phone tonight, did I? Did everybody else? Everybody else? I don't do announcements for this. You know, I don't announce silence your phone.
Good.
And now that
people have been known to make announcements for such things.
There we go. Now it's silenced. So Monday of this week, I came in to try to use our copy machine, and it wouldn't do anything. So by Wednesday, I have a repairman in, and he works with it a little bit, and he says, well, I hate to tell you this, but it's done. The motherboard is fried. And he had a great deal for me. They actually are a great company. Yeah, I know, right? They are a great company, and they've been great over the years. But his great deal was $5,000 to bring in a refurbished unit that, of course, was a way better machine than what we had. But that was his great deal. And I'm like, I don't see us... You know, back in the day when we were doing missions, we ran a machine a lot. Now our needs, I've really missed not having a, copy machine and printer and scanner. I need something back there, but not like what we had. And I thought, I don't think I need to spend $5,000. But I made one phone call. And again, I didn't ask to use his name, so I won't. But I made one phone call and said, listen, this is what's just happened. It was to a guy that I know he gets a kick out of helping ministries stay current with their technology. He just hates that, churches are often 10 years behind, in their technologies, and he doesn't like that. And I knew that about him, and I said, listen, I hate making these calls because I don't like to ask for things, which I think is a pride issue on my part, because I shouldn't feel as, hesitant as I do. But I called him and I said, listen, this is what's happened. And so I just wanted to let you know, because I have to do something. I can't be here without some sort of it. I need this technology replaced. I probably don't need it replaced at the $5,000 level, but I need it replaced. He said, all right, well, let me talk to the boss, who's his wife. He said, let me talk to the boss, and I'll get back with you, because I do want to help. He said, I want to help. Let me get with her, and we'll see what we can do. I mean, it wasn't 2 hours later. He said, okay, come by. I've got a $5,000 check for you. And he said, by the way, use it however you need to use it. It's not just, you don't have to go buy a copy machine now. Here's $5,000. Do what you need to technologically and use the rest however you need to use it. There's no strings. Here. So there's two big wins, right, that really help. And I only share that because I don't know about you guys, but I mean, of course, this is intimately my life and what I do and so forth. So it's different maybe than it is for you. But I just wanted you to know that's kind of how things operate in a ministry like this. And then there's just a nice group of people that just love to give, so that Sandra and I, I say Sandra and I because predominantly when I talk to donors and tell them, hey, we're doing this in ministry or that, they're like, we don't care. We just want to support you and Sandra. We know you guys are doing quality things, and that's where our heart is. Do whatever you have in your hearts to do, because that's what we're supporting. And there's just a great group of people doing that. So I just wanted to share that because I guess it was blessing me. to see in basically 10 days, I guess, to see those 2 wins, just it blessed my heart. And I know everybody in here is a part of that, and I appreciate it. Those of you watching online, many of you are intimately involved, and that includes giving of money that is hard earned, and I get that. It's not easy to turn loose of money that maybe is sparse, or that you've worked hard to get, and so forth. We want people to give out of the abundance of their heart because they want to. I don't want you to give under obligation or manipulation or control. I want you to give because you want to, and then it turns out to be a blessing, right, all the way around. So, anyway, I hope I didn't bore you with that. I just those 2 things, both that discipleship thing and that being intently what we're doing here, as well as just some of those giving things are cool.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if anybody ever has questions about finances, we're kind of required actually by law, but we do it out of because we want to be. Our books are open. We're happy to share. Happy to see David could answer questions for you. He is our treasurer, so he could be kind of a bit more of an outside perspective, I guess, on those finances. And the 990 form that we're required to file with the IRS every year is public record. So if anybody ever has questions, just ask. Hey, Sandra. Welcome home. Sandra's been gone for a few days, so just back into town. So tonight, here's what I want to do. I mentioned we're going to go to Ephesians 4. It's been fun working through Ephesians. We should have been, this is week 8.
Wow.
Over a good period of time, because then Sandra filters in, or another guest does, or whatever. So week 8. Here's what I want to do to get us started tonight. You can turn to Ephesians 4 if you would like. But to get us started, I would like to hear what your viewpoints, what you would say. What is a disciple? I mean, I've brought it up and I've been talking about it a little bit, but what is this? What does it mean to be a disciple? What is that? Why does it matter?
A disciple is someone who follows Jesus and shares about Jesus.
Okay.
What he does.
Follows Jesus and shares Jesus with other people.
Yes.
Okay. Derek, I saw your hand go up
I
too.
was gonna say the same thing as him. Just
Yeah.
and I've seen in cases that's not necessarily Jesus, but just a disciple, just a
Okay.
follower of something.
Good point. Good point. It's a follower of and a commitment to something, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah. No, that's a very good point, because of course we're thinking of it in terms of being a disciple of Christ, right? But that commitment level, that's the concept. Yeah. Got some great minds in here with way beyond a bachelor's degree. What is a disciple? Well, we had this question earlier. Where your bachelor's degree was from, if you have one.
I just think a disciple is someone who wants to live like the person they're following.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting angle because it's a commitment to, as your boys both brought up, but then they want to say that again.
I want to live like the person I'm following.
Yeah.
I'm a disciple of.
Yeah.
If I'm a disciple, what do you call the person you're following? What's the term there?
Lord?
Lord, I guess so.
Being serious.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I suppose it could be.
Disciple, yeah.
Yeah.
Rabbi? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a higher level of
Yeah.
leadership or position than you yourself. I mean, at least you think it is, because you're interested in being
Because
like
I'm their disciple.
them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Living like them.
Yeah.
Which would explain the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting to be more like Jesus and
Yeah.
giving up parts of their life to be with Jesus.
Ooh, now you're getting into things. Seriously, I mean, giving up part of your life then. I mean, because if you want to be like them, then, I mean, you are going to choose to design your
Make
life.
sacrifices.
Yeah. There'd be things you would turn away from or
Or
whatever.
maybe not just parts of your life. Maybe all.
interesting thoughts.
I'll add a couple of thoughts on here also. I like what everybody said so far. I think there has to be some kind of idea of submission under there, where
Okay.
you're looking at somebody who's higher than you, and
Yeah.
you're trying to, just some humility of like, they know more, they're
Yeah.
better, so some of that. And then I'd also add reproducibility, or maybe that's not the right word, but taking who they are, being that, and trying to be that for other people as well.
Okay.
Like passing it on
Yeah,
and sort of, okay.
yeah, but not just, I mean, part of it is passing on the message, but also passing on the lifestyle,
Right.
or
Yeah.
how they act and how they live.
It would be fair to say, though, right, in this conversation, that it's not you're not a slave as a disciple. You
It's a bond servant.
it's a choice. I've never heard of discipleship in terms of
Slavery.
a slave.
Correct.
Right. I mean, it is an active choice on my part. I see somebody who is deserving of me following them, who I'm choosing to follow
Which
and
also
emulate
speaks to
my life after.
the Lord or the Master. Or
Sure.
The one in authority isn't overbearing, recognizing that person is trying to follow. In
Yeah.
the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm
Like
hearing,
the character of that.
they've inspired you to want to follow them.
Yeah.
So that hopefully it's healthy. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it often would be when it's a choice to follow them. I mean, I suppose it could be unhealthy, but most of the time I think it's
Two
not.
things. So the word, and I forget, it's been a long time since I studied it, but it's something about in the word disciple or follower, it means to walk in the same way as.
Okay.
So in other words, to what you were saying, you're representing as if that person were there. It's the same, like,
Right.
if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Like,
Yeah.
we're not hiding anything. This is how they did it. You're getting the same. You're walking the same way. You're representing the same.
So
It's more than just a message, right? You're
Right.
Representing more than a message.
Yeah.
You're representing a being? Is that it?
It's a great way to say it. But yeah, that was just I can't remember, but it's somewhere in there. If you dig, it talks about
well, I
a
mean,
discipler becoming
Yeah.
as a follower, not following after someone as though you can't achieve it, but to do things in the same manner that they do. To be in the same manner they be.
I think you're probably digging there for some other scriptures, but it's fascinating right here in Ephesians 4. And the reason I'm going here is because in these first 8 verses, I mean, it starts right out saying, I therefore, a prisoner of the Lord, this is Paul speaking, urge you to, get this, walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. Now, I don't know about you all, but I've been tempted to read, and we could go on down. I would go down to like verse 8. I've been tempted to read this over the years and think, this is talking about, we often throw the term calling around a lot in the body of Christ. And I'm not saying that there aren't other applications to that, but as I was reading this week, I was thinking, wait, worthy of the calling to which you have been called. And then if you go on down here and unpack this, I think, and you guys can read for yourself there in these first 8 verses, but it just hit me. I'm like, the first and foremost calling that every believer has is to walk in the fullness. We saw this in Ephesians 3, to walk in the fullness of the life that we have because of Christ. So he's encouraging us to walk worthy of the calling to which you've been called. The calling to which you've been called is to walk in the fullness of the life that God has given in Christ, which influences business, influences finances, influences school, influences relationships on every level, friendships, marriages, child raising, parents, child to parent, parent to child. It influences everything to walk in the fullness of that. There's something there. You know, to think about that as a disciple, I'm endeavoring to allow it. It goes down, I mean, at the end of verse 7, it says, the measure of Christ's gift. I know I didn't read through all this, but I mean, read through it there if you want to, but it's just fascinating that even up there at the end of verse 4, we've been called with one hope. One hope, and that is all intertwined with your call. So then that's where it goes into one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all, and has given to us the measure of the gift that he chose to measure to us. Now it does later on here, it talks about apostles and prophets and pastors and teachers and all that. And that's what we tend to think of when we think of a calling.
But that calling specifically is talking about sonship, right?
Right here.
Like the beginning.
I think it is.
I do too.
I mean,
what you listed down the road with all one,
yeah.
Father.
Yes.
That's a call. I don't want to say it's common to all believers. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
Like it's shared amongst all believers.
Absolutely. I mean, you may have a unique gift as a teacher, or as a pastor, or as an apostle, or you may have that, but this is a calling to sonship is what I'm seeing. And if you guys are seeing anything different, you know, that's the point of this interaction, is to unpack this, because it's based upon Christ's gift, and it's a call to live within that gift. It goes down at the end of verse 8 there. Is that 8 or 9? Verse 8. He gives gifts to men. He's given us that gift of life, right? We could go to John 3:16, we could go to John 10, we could jump around here, we could talk about that life, that infilling. We can go all over Romans and talk about, you know, the life that we've been given. And that's what I'm hearing Paul urge us towards here. So I don't know about you, but for me, that I look at that and I go, okay, so where in my life am I letting this in? Letting this gift operate, and where not? It's real easy, you know, to just, I got this. Right? Not stop and ponder and consider, wait. What's God's view, God's opinion? What would that gift, what if I'm going to walk in the fullness of this life, as it says in Ephesians 3, but here we say walk worthy of the calling of this gift. It's not asking me to earn the gift. It's saying the gift is in me. Now, how do I walk worthy of that? And we see a little more of that if we get down there today. But
I'm
yeah.
thinking about that word calling.
Yeah.
Just the word itself, and I know this is more the English, and I don't know what the Greek is. But,
Yeah.
just English, when you like call something, you're like speaking something forth into existence
Right.
that may not be there. So in this sense, it's like God is put something inside of us that maybe wouldn't be there unless he was speaking it into
Sure.
us.
That's a good take. Yeah, I like that.
So it kind of enhances our identity as well. Because God's growing us and he's calling us to be more than we would have been without that, without him speaking into us.
That's a beautiful image too, because you think if that's calling to me, and it's calling to me consistently, then whether I'm in a good moment in life or a tough moment in life, a bad moment, whatever, that's there, and it's calling me up, right? It's calling me up and out of, even if things are good, there's always something better, right? And it's a calling up constantly into the richness of that life. Yeah, that's good.
I kind of hear when you were saying that, TJ, just like invitation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and because then it goes on talking about basically almost like, will you respond to this invitation?
Yeah. Yes.
Will you walk worthy
Yeah.
of the invitation that's placed within you that you've been given?
Yeah.
but it's an invitation. It's not going to violate your free will. It's saying, but I'm inviting you to whatever. Are you going to believe me in, some of the testimonies you shared this week of like,
Right.
hey God, what do we do in the middle of it?
Right.
I'm sure it's like, let me pray and think and be like, God, what do we do here?
What do we do here? What do we do with this one? I like that though, invitation, and tying that together with the calling, because I think it's really easy to, like you hear, walk in a manner worthy of a calling. Does anybody feel like that could be heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why? Why would that thought be a heavy thought?
Feel like you're worthy means almost like a burden.
Right?
Walking with this, carrying around the burden of a responsibility.
Right.
That's it.
And I like that being pointed out because I think it's so easy to feel that in a statement like that. And yet what we're being invited into, it's calling me out. It's calling me up. And it's all on him, so to speak, right? And that none of us have earned the life he's given us. It's all on Jesus. I mean, that's why it says in verse 7, it's Christ's gift to men. He gives gifts to all men. He's giving us this life, and he's calling us up and out. We're not walking in a burdensome worthiness. But I can ignore that calling, can't I? You said that. It's not a denial of free will. Yeah, Sandra.
I think it's kind of too, it's like when we I think about one time I heard God say, you are my son and you carry the weight of that. And
Okay.
It wasn't like he was saying, you better do the right thing.
Yeah.
It was like, you carry this incredible authority and gift and whatever. You carry the weight, the benefit, the privilege, the blessing of being my son.
Yeah.
So you can do what I'm asking you or not. Like Cont said, it's an invitation.
Yeah.
But it was such a good, and it was one of those moments where it was definitely a God thing, because it wasn't those words, but that's what I felt. And I think a lot of times when God speaks, we feel those, we know what it means, but we can't necessarily put it all into words. But that was how I felt, is like, I'm inviting you into this space of being my son and taking the responsibility of that, the weight of that, and doing that thing.
That's really good.
But at the same time, Christ also said during his time that his burden was easy and his yoke was light.
Right.
So while right here, as you're reading it, it sounds, the calling does sound like this burden that we choose or not to choose to carry.
Right.
But Jesus himself said that it's an easy one to carry,
Yeah.
Right.
and that he will carry it for you as needed.
Yeah.
So it's in one mindset, it's no. You want me to do what? But then he goes, don't worry about it. This is I've handed you pieces of paper that were heavier than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is an encouragement,
Right.
knowing that he's called us into sonship. He's called us into discipleship. He's not making it difficult.
Yeah.
Any more difficult than we choose to make it, which is, I think, a lot of our biggest problems. Is we choose to make it a heck of a lot more difficult than it is.
I get in my own way a lot.
Kind of getting with what you just said, and then getting back to Derek's point of like something or someone that you're following. So does the responsibility look different in the life of a believer to that calling than the responsibility to somebody following a different calling?
Yeah.
Or being called into in a different,
Right.
a non-Jesus way.
Yeah.
What differentiates those responsibilities?
Right.
Just a thought.
No, and I mean, it's an interesting thought because I was just thinking that there's a difference between feeling a burden around something and a weightiness that is unhealthy, misplaced. And then there's the feel, this is a big deal, right? And feeling the weight of that we've been given the gift of life, these gifts from Christ, and therefore we're being asked to walk in a way that's worthy of that, to which we've been called, this calling out. We are being asked to walk according to that, right? I mean, kind of to your point.
Yeah.
There is an element of us acknowledging that there are things that Derek said we maybe give up. David, you upped the ante and said we give our whole life to.
I think that's what we were called to with Christ.
Right. So it's an abandoning of ourselves to Him in every arena of life and letting that calling out be everywhere. But it does flavor the uniqueness. Like, I don't expect you to go and do what I do. On a practical walk it out level necessarily, because of, is that what you were tapping into, is the uniquenesses of, you're doing things seriously in your job where people are being impacted in ways that if I was in your job, I think they would be impacted in different ways. And I don't know that it would be so great. I mean, there's valuable things in us, right? That
When you touched on the word weight, it kind of like, I think that's one of the definitions of glory.
Oh, interesting.
So it's almost like God gives, within that calling, shaped through who we are in representing that, there's a glory to that, or an authority to that. It's not like you recognize those moments like, oh, this isn't light, and there are things that each of us carry into work or family or different aspects that do make a difference, and they represent the disciple. They represent the one we're following.
Right.
For example, I mean,
That's really interesting.
disciples probably read their Bible.
Well, I mean, probably.
Disciples probably worship. Probably. I'm just saying, like.
No, you're right. I love that you brought that up.
Lines with a disciple.
There's probably a relationship there.
Yeah.
Yes. Therefore, there's conversation. There's prayer. There's.
Those I'm thinking of like
interaction.
Specific responsibilities.
Yeah.
Not because
which would
you
be
have to.
common to everybody, and not because you have to, but there's a weight to it in that it's a valuable thing.
Yes.
Gold has weight to it. And I don't know about you all, but I would endeavor, if you let me, to carry all of the gold out of this building tonight that I could physically possibly drag out. I would give it all I could, right? And that's the weight to a valuable thing, right? You're gonna give yourself to it. Yeah. Sandra and I hit, and I know some of you have heard this, but when we hit that moment where we were ready to shut down our missions program anyway, and then the pandemic came and did it for us, we had a realization that maybe we should take this. I've been guilty of saying that the pandemic was a blessing to me and a gift, because it helped me do something that I needed to do that I couldn't figure out how to do. And that was, I wanted to shut that program down, but it was going so well. But I needed to be done with it. And then the pandemic did it for me. We went through a whole process then of once that was settled in us and we said, okay, that season is done and it's officially shut down. I mean, that was that took us 1.5 years, to get through that. So we then hit a moment where we looked at each other and said, so now what? And there was an element of what we're talking about here in that there's a sense of a calling, and it's the of course the life of a disciple, but also beyond that, the gifts and talents in us. I mean, it was really tempting to just say, okay, that season of missions is done, therefore the season of ministry is done. We're just going to go into business. Or we even talked about going to Wyoming and buying a little ranch and just hiding. I mean, we had lots of different ideas that went around, but you know what we kept coming back to was, as disciples, as children of God, and that calling kept pulling on us. And that's why Open Fields is here today, and that's why we're doing the stuff on YouTube, because we desire to impart into people what we have to impart. And so we keep endeavoring to do it in ways that, and that's some of the thing I think that you're talking about, is we should lean into those things. And it's not always easy.
No.
I mean, it's often challenging. And we've actually got some things right now that we're leaning into that we're excited about, because it's allowing us to input into people in ways we haven't done before. And we'll share more on some of that here, in the next few weeks. But it can be unnerving because it's new or whatever, or it's just a new venture and it's going to cost you something, and you got to get, sometimes, I mean, you've heard the concept before, right? Mm-hmm. When you say yes to something, you're always saying no to something else in that process. And sometimes you're saying no to good things. Opportunity costs, right? So when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And in that case, you want to know that it's in line with the life of Christ in you, maybe. Yeah, anyway, that's just some of my personal experience and journey with some of this. Because, it does go on down there, that next section that I outlined, it takes us down to, I don't know, maybe verse 16-ish kind of thing. And it does go into talking about, the importance of being equipped and the building up of the body and how that happens. And I love the example of even tonight. There've been several things that you all have said. I've made some notes here on my sheet because I'm like, I want to go back and think about that a bit more. And that's part of what we see here is, how is the body equipped? And it does say he gave apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints, to build up the body of Christ. Jump clear down to 15. It says, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ, for who the whole body, joined and held together by every joint, is fully and completely equipped, prepared, properly prepared. Which, I don't know what you all are thinking, but to me, it's fascinating to think about us as disciples, and then to think about the role we play amongst ourselves in the body, in helping and equipping others, and also who are the ones helping and equipping us. Right? There's value in both sides of that. There's a reason you and I meet for coffee and we leave encouraged. Now, sometimes it's more frivolous or just business stuff or whatever, but I feel deeply encouraged a lot of times after we meet. Why? Because your gift is coming out. And David is not an ordained minister.
Says who?
Is that true?
As far as I know.
He went to Colorado State, secular university. Heathen land.
I always think, I went to the chiropractor earlier this week. And I always ask when I go to a new chiropractor, it's like, who's your chiropractor?
Oh.
Because
you go see.
I see you the way
Are you going to go see that doctor?
Exactly.
I can't divulge it.
I see the way they're wrestling me around, and your back must be a mess. Right? Who do you go see?
That's awesome.
So they have to have someone.
Right.
Is the point. The pastor needs someone.
Yeah.
Or multiple, or whatever.
Well, right. I mean, to me, we could go a number of ways if we do venture into this next section now. I kind of moved us there. We don't have to leave that first bit, but I think you make a good point there, that sometimes we celebrate that chiropractor, right? Because he he not only got the specialized training, he's honed his skill set, right? We do the same thing in the body. I remember, so Sandra and I both went, this is a long time ago. Sandra and I both went to a school in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Rhema Bible Training Center. So if you know Kenneth Hagin Ministries at all, that's their ministry runs that Bible school. I'll never forget. I'm sure he's not watching this. If it gets to him, wow, that'd be amazing. But his son, I never really had much respect for. His son. I don't know. There was just something he just didn't seem to. Sometimes the son is just not the dad, right? And yet he tries to be. And particularly like in this case, the dad had great success, so then the son just filters into that success. That's what it looked like. And I'm saying all this online. That's beautiful. But I never had a lot of respect for him. And then one day in one of our classes, that man got up and he was doing an example of an evangelist. Dude, I wanted to get saved so bad by the time he got done. It was a beautiful example of an evangelist at work. I gained respect for him that day because I thought that is a gift you operate in, or you would not have been able to impact this group of 2,000 students like you just did. So I think my point is we do have our part to play, and we need people to play their part. It's both sides. Yeah.
I got a couple ideas here.
Go, man.
Up in verse 7, it starts with talking about the measure, according to the measure of Christ's gift.
Yeah.
Then it kind of goes through this whole thing about he ascended and descended.
Yep.
In other words, that he might fill all things. So it's like the amount of grace that we have is as high as it can go and as low as it needs to go.
Okay.
Like both possible spectrums. And then I'm going to come back to the fivefold thing here in a second. But down here it says, till we all come to the unity of the faith, of the knowledge of the Son of God, to the perfect man, to the measure, that measure from as high as it needs to be to as low as it has to be. Or, you know what I mean? Both. Whatever that measure is.
Whatever it needs to be.
Whatever it needs to be.
be.
In the heavens or the lowest parts of the earth, we have grace for both of that.
That's really something. Yeah.
Never thought about that when it talks about that.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
hadn't really either.
Shifting gears just a little bit, like with the fivefold concept, or is that okay if I use that word?
Yeah.
No.
No. That's,
Some people get worked up about that.
No,
but
it's
the point
fine.
being, apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. I think people have become enamored at how amazing those gifts are,
sure.
rather than their description and function of for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry.
Yeah.
Going back to the following thing,
Right.
or the discipleship thing,
Right.
of can we reproduce what we believe in?
Right.
Rather than saying, and I'm not trying to downplay, I've seen wild and crazy gifts too that are amazing. But we have to get past the entertainment value of that and realize from here it's talking about what defines those isn't how amazing those gifts are. What defines them is the ability to reproduce them.
Yeah.
Again, just thinking out loud.
Makes
I've thought a lot about that.
It makes me think we need to be prepared with an answer. Yeah, I don't know about you all, but don't you occasionally, somebody will ask you, how do you do that? How do you live your life that way? Or tell me about it. They notice something about you and they ask a question. I think we should not discount those moments, because those are moments of being able to say, well, let me tell you how.
That's when you're prepared to give an answer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think sometimes those are very spiritual answers, and sometimes they're very practical, natural answers. I've had people ask, Sandra and I have been asked, how do you live your life? How does this work? And sometimes it's just a matter of, you teach them some financial budgeting or teach people how not to eat Twinkies for breakfast, or you know what I mean? I mean, it can be those kinds of practical kinds of things. You have no energy because you eat crap. Yes, you can say that. I mean, it's just interesting.
It is. But I think that leads to the question of like, so what teachers are teaching others to teach? What pastors are teaching others to pastor?
Yeah.
Because that's what,
and being prepared to hand that on.
That's what defines those functions.
It is.
Not the title.
No.
Not the miraculous nature of all those gifts in people.
Yeah.
Like, I think we have to look at how we define that differently.
Because we run right past that for the equipping of the saints, don't we?
Yeah. And then in 15, this is my last little thing for now.
Sure.
Is where it says, speaking the truth in love may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ. And so I think we see this throughout. If we're going to grow up, we have to see both the truth in love. Mm-hmm. And if we take the extreme of truth, we beat people up. If we take the extreme of love, we're people pleasers and don't get anything done.
Yeah.
And both of them have to be working together to grow up, for us to grow up, and for the body to grow up.
Yeah. We've talked a lot over the years about about love and how its key role in everything as it relates to us as believers, right? I don't know if I can find it. I was just thinking of a scripture. I don't know if I can find it here or not. What I was thinking of is there's a scripture that I think it's in 1 John that really challenges us to lean into understanding the depth of God's love, and if we basically, the concept is that if we do ever feel any condemnation or
4:19, I think roughly.
God is greater.
Yeah, that might be it. There's 18 is one you've heard. There's therefore no fear in love. Yeah, this is what I was looking for, Kinsey. There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment. And the one who fears is not perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. There's some, this is New American, I think. Yeah, and there's some other translations, or if you dig into that a little bit, there's some indication there that, it's just very powerful to understand and that we are loved, period. And that when there is fear, then we're not fully convinced that God truly, deeply loves us, period. And so taking us back to your point there, Hans, verse 15. Because we have been talking about being a disciple, we've also been talking about how, yes, there are gifts given to the body of Christ, but for the purpose of disciples being able to do the work of sharing the gospel, right? The work of the ministry. I mean, isn't that the work of the ministry? To share God's goodness, share his life, share the whole plan of redemption, the plan that brings man back into, relationship with God, the plan that brought man from death into life, right? I mean, that's the answer we're to give. Is there's a God that loves you. There's a God that cares for you. There's a God that wants relationship with you. And he's provided a whole plan of redemption in that, and us being able to, in the moment, in that person, with that person, in that situation, in their personality and in yours, be ready with that answer. And you can't do that unless you're fully convinced that he loves you, first of all. So then if you're fully convinced of God's love for you, then you're going to speak the truth in love.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult to do it outside of love, unless you're walking in condemnation or judgment or fear, which, we all fight those things. Yeah. There's some good challenging things here.
There's a few things here.
Well, no, there are, because you even think about, that whole idea that, the whole purpose here, guys, as a body, as a church, is that we are growing up. And walking away worthy of this calling and walking in the fullness of this and growing up in every way into Him who is the head. I think it's worth wrestling with some of these things, and I hope we all go from this place tonight and do a little wrestling with a few of these things. And that's not bad. That's a good positive thought. Is where do I allow the influence of the gift that I've been given? Call me out even further. I love that imagery. That's one of my notes. I'm gonna be digging into that a little more, because I'm like, that's beautiful imagery. And of course, this idea of the equipping of the saints, that's bothered me anyway. Even though I've functioned as a minister much of my life, I question at times, am I doing that? Am I training people up to where they then go and replicate?
Amen.
Because there's no point in just sitting and yapping and flapping your gums, if you're not leaving the end effect.
Well, by doing that, that's also showing Christ's influence in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to sit there and read the Bible,
Yeah.
even talk to God. It's another thing in your daily walk
Yeah.
to, at the end of the day, going, okay, this last conversation I had at Arby's with somebody who happened to walk by.
Yeah.
I do this right.
Right.
Because if you don't care, if you're not one that cares about that,
Right.
it ain't going to bug you.
Right.
But if you do care like Christ
It's a good example.
wants us to care,
Yeah, exactly.
then it is going to bug you if you do it wrong.
Right.
So it does challenging you that the next time we'll look for another opportunity to correct those.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a teacher, a banker, a cop on the street, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're following this,
Right. It's a great
that's going to be
example.
something that,
Yeah.
that is going to be weighing on you.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, you probably need to stop and
Yeah.
think about it a little bit.
Do you
Well-
think,
Yeah. Go ahead.
do you think there's when you say, did I do that right? Maybe I'm just hung up on that word, because there's that element of just like doing it, right? And that even if I mess up a little bit or it's not quite right, still, as a disciple, God being gracious and proud of us even when we mess it up. I almost feel like messing it up or doing it wrong is not doing it at all, right? That when we do something, there's still, and I get what you're saying, like, because we feel that internally of, could I have done it different? Or did I miss anything there? And I definitely think analyzing in a sense like that is good, in that it helps us think about the next interaction. I don't know.
But I think there's two things there, because I hear it in what Dave's saying is that you're going to care enough to notice that person at Arby's.
Not only
right.
that, but care enough about Jesus.
There you
want
go.
it, that it isn't necessarily that you yourself goofed up, but it's more that we know how great our God is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had a moment this past week where I was just sitting out on my balcony and just worshiping God, where that's exactly what was going through my mind was He is so good. We always say He is worthy, He is worthy. What is He worthy of?
Yeah.
He's worthy of us giving 100%.
Right.
Because of all that He's given us.
Mm-hmm.
The kids, grandkids, the blessings in our lives.
Yeah.
And if our minds are centered where they should be, we should want to.
Yeah.
And like I just said a few minutes ago, if they're not centered correctly, then you need to realign yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be without condemnation, though. I think if you're asking that question, I think it's a good indication that your heart's in the right place of humility. but not from a performance. Almost more of like an observation thing of like, okay,
Yeah.
does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
if
and
I
maybe
handled it this way,
from a point of learning even.
yeah,
Right.
but not to say, not to attach any sonship value.
Yeah,
from,
yeah. Yeah, and that's
that situation.
that's key and critical, and also can be tricky.
Very tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I tell a quick story? I was
Sure.
thinking of, and if I can't, it's okay. I was like, what are you gonna say? Just tell me now.
We'll just judge how quick it is.
Okay.
Right?
So, our good friend Ed Elliott, evangelist, he's in somewhere in a country on a trip in southern Africa. I think it was Mozambique. They have curfew because they're in a state of civil war.
Okay.
He's going and he's seeing all kinds of stuff, but his concern is for the people to get home at 9.
Okay.
And this is an open air crusade. 45,000 people get baptized in the Holy Ghost that night.
Wow.
And he's like, the dead were being raised, like everything was happening that you want to see, that's in the Bible that you want to see. And his heart's like, hey, we got to get these people
But they need to get home.
because we're
Yeah.
like, they're in danger if
Right.
they don't get home. There's unrest, and this
Yeah.
is like the law of the land.
Right.
So he does this, and back he's just crying out to God, like, "Oh man, I messed up. We had this, all this stuff was going on, everything." And God just told him, "Hey son, we got done what we need to get done tonight."
Yeah.
But I just thought that was to what you were saying, just along those lines of like that heart to just say, God, I want to do this right because I care for your people and you in treating people the right way, the weight or the responsibility of that. I just felt like that fits what we were
that's really
talking about with that and he didn't feel condemned, but it was just
Yeah.
it was heavy. It was like,
No, it would be.
people are being raised from the dead. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Like that's kind of fun. Let's keep it going. Like,
Yeah.
bring more sick people up here. Let's heal them.
But he kept them longer, and so that he was, or did he cut it off?
No,
you
he
mean?
cut it. He cut it
and sent
off
'em
to
home.
get them home
Yeah.
by 9. So
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And for
Okay,
Ed,
I see what you
that's
mean.
a miracle.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay.
He's a night owl, and then some.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good point, that it's more important. Man, that's so ringing in me right now. You said care enough about Jesus. I mean, this is what Ed's heart was, for the people, but what does Jesus want for people
For
and to get
them.
done on this earth? And you care enough about that you're willing to step into the uncomfortable, whether it's going past the curfew or
And
sticking
Jesus-
your neck out to talk with
But,
somebody or,
We forget how tied in Jesus is, God, to our human needs
True.
for safety.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jesus, I'm sure, was healing people, raising the dead, whatever, when they were in the wilderness, and he's like, they're a long ways away, and they haven't anything to eat.
Yeah.
We gotta feed them.
Wow, that is so good.
Right? He's tied into both
My goodness.
in a way that only he can be. But I remember,
Man, we run right past that stuff. That is so good.
right? Years ago, either you or Sandra said you had someone in Bible school tell you something like you could.
We'll say it was me since I'm up here tonight.
I hear something. I like Sandra, so
I know. She's a better teacher than I am.
So you don't want to be the saying when something like you don't want to be of such spiritual value that you're of no earthly good.
Oh.
Spiritually minded, you know, everything.
Well, something like that, right? So like we think that God doesn't care about us getting home safely or
Yeah.
having enough to eat.
Another way we heard that kind of thing at Rhema a lot. Another thing they used to say to us a lot was that it's the natural and the supernatural coming together that make an explosive force for God. And I think we like to think it's just the supernatural that makes an explosive force for God. But no, it's the natural and the supernatural. If you ever get the chance to get Shannon, it's hard to get him to do this. I don't know why. But if you can get Shannon Carroll to sit down and talk with you and share with you about his years doing crusades in Africa,
It's astounding.
amazing stories of natural and how Jesus was involved in the natural that played into the end result of some supernatural ministry activities, but it was both. And he was the workhorse on the natural end a lot. And then the superstar, evangelist came in. I mean, I don't mean that smart, but
I get what you're saying.
somebody's got to put up the stage and the lights and the sound system, and
Yes.
that stuff has to be in place for that gift to show up and do his thing, right?
Yes.
And Jesus is tied into our human needs.
This might be a little
It's good.
extreme of a thought, might be pushing too far.
Never. From Sandra?
I think, like, I'm just thinking about the scriptures that talk about he was, he came to earth as a man. It's all in Hebrews to know what it's like to be human
Okay.
and to be able to be, what does it say? Like he can comfort us in our weakness. He can,
He was tempted in all ways as
we are, yes. And
He sympathizes
came-
with our weakness.
So he came to experience being human, and this is the stretch. Do you suppose that that sounds so stupid, maybe I won't say it.
You have to now.
You have to.
I just think it's interesting because if Jesus came down and as a human was able to experience that, what was he then able to relate back to God in a sense
Oh, sure.
of our humanity?
Because he had a connection to it that the Father didn't, you mean?
Anyway,
Right.
of course God already knows that. I'm not saying that.
But he
God
doesn't have a personal, intimate touch of it.
It's interesting.
But that
That is an interesting thought.
that connection though was still limited to being the Son of Man, just like it is for us. In the sense of, I'm just saying he didn't pull the Son of God card, relaying that back to God. Like
No.
When he ascended, is what she's saying.
Sure do.
I'm saying once he was back after.
once after.
When he went
Okay,
back.
got you.
He was able to somehow maybe communicate with God what it's like to be human in a different way. I don't know, like.
I mean, to me, it seems just logically evident that God touched man, touched humanity in a totally new and different way through Jesus. And Jesus was man. So Jesus experienced being human and therefore is sympathetic with our plight.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way to say
I
it.
get it. I guess
But Kenzie's saying God is omniscient.
correct. So how can
So
he
then-
not know
Doesn't he already know it? I
Right.
don't know.
I think he did know it, but was there an emotional connection and touch to it now that wasn't there before or something? I don't know.
I don't know if he's complete, how that's possible,
Yeah.
except for the fact that it's an interesting thought, and I see why.
Like, does
Why
God
I say
experience
it's a
pain
stretch,
Yeah.
in his omniscience? Because that's kind of like
But, I think
not a
with
lot.
that scripture where it's talked about he's tempted in all ways, and TJ's probably going to correct me on whatever I say here, but
Do it.
Do it.
it feels like we know he was a man. And so it's easier for us as human beings to believe now that Jesus, who is our advocate, can feel the way we felt.
Sure.
Feel the way
Yeah.
we feel.
Yeah, it's more about us.
Correct. So it's not saying that God or he didn't feel it before, but now we can connect with that. And
Yeah.
Jesus as our high priest.
Right.
Hebrews 4:15.
Yeah.
Can I read that real quick?
That's a good thought, David. Yeah, read it.
It says, sorry, I'm trying to find it. Give it a second, it's working.
It's working.
I'll do it in the Amplified. It says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize and understand our weaknesses and temptations, but one who has been tempted, knowing exactly how it feels to be human, in every respect as we are, yet without committing any sin."
So then go on. Let us therefore draw near with confidence. right? To the throne of grace.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think the whole point
Confidence
of him
there.
saying that was, or major point was that so that we would draw near with confidence.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's like, you gotta, if you're gonna go see a doctor for an ailment, or we'll just say like me, spine problems.
Yeah.
You go in, or say you're going to see a physical therapist to help you out. And that physical therapist says, yeah, just 2 years ago, I had this problem with my back. I'm still going through that. You have a lot more confidence in what that doctor or whoever is doing to help you out, because you know that they've been there, or they may even currently be hurting that way. So you're sitting there going, okay, so
It's a fair point.
it isn't just like a doctor who can sit here and spend 15 years in whatever
not
schooling
figuring,
they need to have,
Yeah.
and be able to say, all right, the book says this.
Right.
Versus
Right.
somebody said, hey, this worked great for me. I've also had several other patients that said it worked. Let's try this. So right away, your confidence in that is
Yeah.
going to be that much higher.
Yeah.
Just as much as us serving God, knowing that he felt the pain of a friend's death.
Yeah.
He felt the pain of seeing somebody get hurt,
Yeah.
versus just the all-seeing, all-eyeing God.
Yeah.
So it's easier for us to go boldly.
Yeah.
So Jesus,
It's a good point.
my heart hurts right now because of,
Yeah.
I know you've been betrayed. I know you felt the sting of death with a friend of yours.
Yeah.
Help me
Yeah.
in those same ways to have the strength that you have.
Yeah. It's a good point. It's definitely a powerful association. There's numerous scriptures. We brought up several, but that definitely encourage us to be bold to enter in, because he does understand, he does get it. You know, he is sympathetic, and therefore we can walk into, like here in Hebrews, fullness of his grace, his strength, you know, his view, his opinion, his ideas, his character, right? However, whatever applies there. Okay, now we're not going to go off on this, but you're saying him experiencing loss just made me think a little deeper on something. We don't really know what happened to his father, Joseph. There's other Josephs, but his father, we don't hear much more about. I'm assuming, I mean, this is just me assuming, and I've never been able to hear, nobody else that I've ever heard dig into it has come up with anything. He must have passed away at some point in Jesus' life. So Jesus,
By
I
the time
think
Jesus passed away,
he was gone. I mean, every evidence that he, and had been for some time apparently. We don't know how long, but he did experience that. You know, it's just interesting to think about the points of contact and touch that Jesus would have had with things that we can go, oh, you get that.
He didn't have a baby.
Naturally speaking.
He didn't have a baby. That's true.
Naturally speaking, he was a stepchild. Joseph was his stepdad.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Just another point of
No, right. Nuance, right?
relationship.
Yeah.
And yes, he did not have a baby. But wow.
Right?
That's
always your guys' trump card. I'll tell you what.
You gotta have something.
Oh. Well, listen, as the moderator, that's what I feel like I've done here tonight, and that's what we're doing here. Great teaching, everyone. They're so good. I've got numerous notes that I want to spend some time thinking on now. And that's the point. We got halfway through Ephesians 4 as well. So I suspect we'll come back to Ephesians 4.
Another 6 weeks, you got this thing nailed.
Sandra will be up for a few weeks. So, you know, we may come back to week 9 and 10. Might as well get to 10 at least, you know. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts and sharing. Thanks for being here. And, man, it's good stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and close us down just out of honor for our time, and everybody's got...
One more PowerPoint?
You can. We've got 5 minutes yet.
Oh.
I was just starting the
Where's yours,
process.
TJ?
I was
You got
starting the
five full
I was
minutes.
starting the process. You know, of shutting us down by 8:30. So you've got 5
I want
minutes.
to be concise and quick here. Bella just thinks about discipleship and then the idea of reproducibility
Yeah.
and all that. And I guess my takeaway, even though we didn't really talk about that, I was just thinking about it, is being a person that people would want to like live like. So
Oh.
being that example.
Absolutely.
I know we have Jesus as an example, but on the earth, people don't see Jesus; they just see us.
Yeah.
So we have to be a representation of Jesus
Yeah.
Yeah.
for other people.
Yeah.
And I guess it's challenging. It's like, am I representing that in a way that people want to follow?
Or making him attractive, right? Something that they would desire.
That's so good.
That's a challenge. No, you're right. It's
For some of us.
It's what I've seen. You don't
That's so
see
good.
that, right? You don't
That's a
see
good
a lot
thought.
of messaging making, following God is
But,
Apple.
but these days there's just not a lot of messaging about even trying to lead people to him. In the sense of like, you need to let everybody believe what they're gonna believe, whatever, and so I think even in that, it's like TJ's saying, like emulate him so much that people want to emulate you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the part of discipleship that's huge.
Yeah.
That's the way you draw
Yeah.
people into the kingdom, I think.
Present something that looks interesting.
Well, not a
enticing.
challenge in the fact that it's hard to overcome, but a challenge in the fact that it's like a dare. That's not right. So, in other words, I would challenge you
That's
to
good.
live this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think
like
that's
the point,
good.
TJ.
I think it's so challenging because it's a whole culture based on self. Everything is obsessed with being the star in your own movie and then getting famous off that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's all centered around that, and you're saying, this is who I'm following. This is why it looks different or why it's attractive.
Yeah.
Instead of all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Thanks for speaking up. That was good.
that was awesome.
I wrote 2 sentences. Not just a note. 2 sentences. Yeah, no. It's a really good thought. Awesome. Well, listen, go in peace, go encouraged, go strengthened, go ready to take a step. You don't need to take 20, right? Just take a step closer, a step into something that we've talked about here tonight has pulled on your heart. Just lean into that. Just take a step into that, and it'll be good. You may have to pick which one to step into, but just pick it. Amen. We have a few more comfy seats and stuff that we're going to filter into this room. Make it better for even just conversation and all.
These are pretty